Sports Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Welcome to Newsmaker Saturday. I'm Christina Carilla in for John this weekend. Let's get to a lot tonight as PTSD Awareness Month comes to a close. We chat with a local author and veteran advocating for families dealing with trauma. We'll also speak with Dr. Ross Goldberg to break down the COVID-19 Delta variant, what you need to know about it. But first tonight, let's talk about one of the hottest housing markets in the country right now, and that is Phoenix. Bobby Lieb with Homesmart is here tonight to talk about it. He's a top-ranking agent in the Phoenix metro area. He's worked in this market for several years. Bobby, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So, a hot market across the country, Phoenix is it, and a tough market, would you say so?
I'd say the last 6 or 8 months or a year have been a shocker. That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, prices are skyrocketing right now. Prices up so dramatically. They're saying home sales are starting to slow. So is that experience? Are you seeing that right now?
Absolutely not. I don't know what area and where that data came from, but there's pretty much 25 to 30 buyers for every house. So I certainly have not seen any slowdown in the last 6 months at all.
That's great news for you. I mean, the prices are high. We're seeing this. And for people that have the cash, the money to put down, I mean, they're doing quite well. But what about middle-class families, people that are looking to move into the Phoenix area and they're just looking for an average home? Those prices are up as well.
You know, there's still availability for everybody. It's just how strong are the buyers that really want it badly enough. It's not necessarily cash, but people are giving away their rights such as appraisal, inspection, and when you start doing that, you're kind of unleveling the playing field and give somebody that wants to have that appraisal, wants to have the inspection a disadvantage, but that's what's going on. So there's all kind of different games being played now to get a house.
Yeah, giving away the inspection and stuff like that, that's risky business. I mean, what do you say on that?
Well, if I'm the listing agent, I like it. But if I'm representing the buyer, I'm concerned about it. We had a deal recently where my wife was taking out a client that actually lost 10 houses, and every single time he was beat out by somebody offering more or taking away those rights. And I just told him there's no way that we can do that, because what's going to happen in a couple years from now, and I'm real concerned about it, when people are giving away their rights on inspection, it's going to come out and back in a couple years and bite people. They're going to come after the agents, they're going to come after the sellers, saying they knew what was going on. And that's my big concern. But my thing is, if I'm representing a buyer, I tell them you got to have the inspection. You can walk away from it, you know, once you see something wrong with it, but I certainly encourage all buyers to get inspections.
There's been some talk as well on that front with the labor shortage, people coming to do the inspection, trying to get a plumber, and you're having a hard time. Are you seeing any of that?
I think fortunately for me, because I've been doing this for 30 years, I have a pretty good network of people that are pretty loyal to me because I give them business. I'm sure that, there are, I mean, if you call the repair companies, you're lucky if you can get them to come in within a couple of weeks. But again, I think they kind of support the people who give them a lot of activity, and that does help. But without question, there's a shortage out there.
In terms of selling homes, we recently did a piece. Fox 10's Nicole Garcia did a piece. I believe she spoke to you in the piece as well. Somebody sold their home in less than 24 hours. I want to air that segment right now to give you an idea of what we're talking about.
Okay.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
Larry Olson sold his Central Phoenix home less than 24 hours after it was listed.
So it was one of those things where they made an offer you couldn't refuse. And there's no contingencies whatsoever. Zero. No inspections, no appraisal, no nothing. Because that's what people are having to do to be able to purchase.
A few years ago, he purchased his home for about $800,000. It recently sold for more than $1 million. He says he never imagined getting such a huge return on the house.
This was, 60, 70, 80%. I mean, unheard of.
The average home sale in PV alone, $3 million. Average home sale.
That's crazy.
During the past year, buyers flush with cash have flooded the luxury home market in the Phoenix area.
Last April, we had 182 sales over $1 million. This last April, we've had 606 sales over $1 million. And so that is a 233% increase.
Along with the influx of buyers from in and out of state, home values continue to climb, increasing 20% in the past year. Experts say this is not a housing bubble. Currently, the demand for homes far outpaces the supply.
We don't have enough right now. That's why we're not going to see a bubble. The bubble means, are we at risk of having vacancies? The number one risk to housing values is always vacancy.
Yeah, no vacancies this time. I think some realtors saying that they have like maybe a 3-month supply of homes for their buyers. It's tough though. It's tough to find something out there. We have an influx of people, lots of people coming here from California. What do you think it is that attracts so many people to this area right now?
The values, the climate. It's still, if you're in California, the prices are $3, $4, $5 million. You could buy something much less than that in Phoenix. And I believe the cost of living out here is a lot less than it is in California. So that probably is a big reason. Plus the values of the homes are a little bit less here. So they can get more home than they can in California. And again, I think the cost of living is a lot less out here.
What do you say to people that are thinking of buying, but they're worried, they want to wait, they're hoping maybe the market will correct a little bit? What do you say to those people?
I'm telling them it's not going to happen. I really, truly believe that it may not be as feverish as it's been the last 4 or 5 months by the increase, but it's going to continue to go up, because if you've got 20, 30, 40 buyers for every house, and you have one person that gets the house, you've got 20, 30 people that didn't get it. They're out there looking for a house. And we just did one recently that had 18 offers probably the first half a day. It was like overwhelming, but those people that did not get the house are gonna want a house. So there's way too much demand. The buyers clearly outweigh the sellers, which means that we're in this thing for the long haul. I think at least till the end of the year, if not the first quarter of next year, it's not going to stop.
All right. Well, I mean, it's good for you guys. You guys are busy, but it's tough out there for people trying to find a home. And for people selling, I guess it's good news for them because they can sell pretty quickly right now.
There is. I mean, it's I think it's good for everybody. I mean, you're right. The sellers have a huge advantage right now. It clearly favors them. But for the buyers, I'm seeing people that have bought a house 3 or 4 months ago that thought they overpaid, and now they see that right around where they live, the prices have even gone up in the last 3 or 4 months. So it's I think everybody's gonna have an advantage, but I agree, if you don't have the ability and you're gonna wait 6, 7 months from now, the prices are not gonna go down. And the rates are still great right now, so it's still gonna be the advantage for the buyers for at least the next 6, 7 months.
All right, sounds good. Bobby Lieb with Homesmart, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Have a great night. All right, still ahead tonight, COVID-19 seemed like it was winding down, but what's with the Delta variant? Should we be worried about this? Dr. Ross Goldberg joins us now.
Sprouts, where goodness grows.
Welcome back to Newsmaker Saturday. It seemed we turned a corner, right? Vaccinations are up, COVID deaths are down. Mask mandates, lockdowns in the rearview mirror, or are they? Now the Delta variant is causing some concern. Dr. Ross Goldberg with the Arizona Medical Association. He's a board-certified general surgeon, and vice chair of the surgery at Valleywise Health. Dr. Goldberg, thanks for being with us. You've been with us this whole pandemic. We truly appreciate your input always.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks again for having me.
Of course. So, okay, let's talk about the Delta variant. Do we really need to be concerned about this? Are we reverting? Are we going backwards?
So we want to be careful about this. Obviously, the goal of a virus, remember, is it wants to replicate and spread. The more times it can do that, the higher chance it can mutate and adapt and become a more efficient spreader. So the Delta variant's another one of those adaptations by the virus to really spread more efficiently. It's more efficient than the Alpha one from the 117 from the UK. So there is a worry that this can spread a lot easier and get people sick, especially those who are not vaccinated.
Okay, so in Arizona, back in May, the Delta variant, it made up about 3% of all cases. Now it's at 15%. That's a pretty large climb. What do we need to watch for with this one?
Well, again, it's all about letting opportunities available for the virus to spread. If we can cut off the ability for the virus to spread from person to person, we will stop its ability to mutate, to be more transmissible. But yes, the Delta variant is more aggressive in its spreading, so that's why you're seeing it take over and become more dominant compared to the other strains. So it really is on all of us to try to protect one another, even those that are vaccinated, to make sure we're not spreading this from person to person.
The goal with the vaccine with COVID-19 has always been to prevent you from getting really sick to the point of where you're on a ventilator or you're in dire circumstances in the hospital. You could still get it, though. There's still that chance. With the Delta variant, is that the same kind of boat? Are we in the same position with that? You could still get it, but your chances of getting a really bad case are slimmer?
Yeah, exactly. So in medicine, really nothing we do is 100%. The idea is to mitigate and minimize damage and injury if we can. And the vaccine has shown, and I know that for a fact they've studied the mRNA ones per se, where they are protective against the Delta variant. And again, we know people who have gotten the vaccine and have gotten sick still, but they didn't get as sick as those that have not gotten the vaccine. So it really blunts the effect, also probably reduces the chance of spreading it. So it really does give you a fighting chance to get ahead of things and slow down the spread of the virus and not get really sick. These are all encouraging things the vaccines are doing, but you need to be vaccinated to have the benefits of that, obviously.
Now, we know that viruses mutate. This is something that typically happens. We've seen it with the flu. And so would you say this is normal for a virus like the coronavirus to mutate over time? And will this continue to happen?
Yeah, viruses adapt like anything else. As it learns what host it has, it tries to become more efficient. So seeing variants occur are not a surprise. But one way to speed up the different variants from occurring is to let it spread a lot and not control. So if you have an exponential spread where it can have the chance to replicate millions of times, that's going to speed up its evolutionary process and adapt. If you can prevent that from happening, you'll slow it down. But you're exactly right. That's why you have a different flu vaccine every year, because there are changes in the virus over time. That is not a surprise when you're talking about the life cycle and spread of a virus in general.
And the study in the journal Nature, they recently said that the Pfizer Moderna vaccines, they provide long-lasting immunity, possibly for years. Does that still hold up, even with these new variants?
So far, we think yes. To kind of answer your question, that was a great article that just came out. Again, it's giving us hope that these vaccines are pretty efficient and are good at what they're doing. That we're seeing these memory cells, these B cells that live in your immune system, have the ability to remember and are continually adapting to what's going on. That's an encouraging sign. What we don't want to happen is for the virus to spread and mutate so much that the vaccines become useless. We're not at that point. We are so far confident with what we've seen that the variants are covered by the vaccines we have available, but we don't want to give the virus an opportunity to overcome those vaccines. So that's why we have to stop the spread as soon as we can.
We're seeing some changes now in LA example, they're recommending that people wear masks once again. WHO, the World Health Organization, now recommending even if you are vaccinated to wear a mask when you can't socially distance. I think there's a lot of people out there that it's disconcerting to hear that, because we've come so far. It's been so long. We've dealt with the pandemic for so long, and people have fatigue. They don't want to wear the mask anymore. And now they're like, why did I get vaccinated if I have to wear the mask again?
No, and it's a great question, and I understand everyone's frustration. I'm right there with them. But this is the tricky part, right? So we really need to look at the areas where there are hotspots occurring and really kind of choke off the virus there. So what's going to happen is it's probably going to have to be a more local response to what's going on. We can't just have a blanket, this is what's good for everyone. So you need to look at your situation and what's going on around in your community to figure out what is best. I understand the frustration, but again, One thing I would push back on people are if people are willing to follow the rules, especially those who are willing to get vaccinated, and we can get to those higher levels of stopping the spread of the virus, then we all benefit and don't have to worry about this stuff moving forward. But if we're not there yet, we have to take measures to protect those that are not vaccinated and those are at highest risk.
This Delta variant seems to affect young people and those who have not been vaccinated more than the rest of the population. So what about kids under 12? They can't really get a vaccine right now. There's talk about one being approved for them, but what can they do right now?
Well, this is where the other protection strategies still hold well, right? The wearing the mask, the physical distancing, the hand washing, those haven't changed. And the hope is as the data gets there that they can start getting these vaccines to younger members as well. But in the meanwhile, for those kids who can't get it yet, this is where the mask wearing and the physical distancing still have a relevant role and are important in stopping it. You said it exactly right. We're finding that the higher risk patients are those who don't have the vaccine. So, and it's not hard to figure that out, right? The vaccine's helping to protect. So we want to protect those people that can't get the vaccine yet, and that's why we all need to do our part. So wearing masks, protecting these kids is vitally important.
Before we let you go, Dr. Goldberg, how long do you think before we're out of this?
That's the million-dollar question, right? If I could predict that, I would be a lucky person, and I'd probably, go on the road as a show. But the issue is really, I'm going to say, is it all depends on us, whether we like to hear that or not. We have a direct impact on how long this is going to last. If we want to say we don't want to participate and protect one another, if people don't want to get the vaccine, and again, that's a personal choice. I understand that. I respect that. I ask those that are not sure to talk to their physician to get more information, because the more of us that can get protected and block the spread of the virus, the shorter we'll be done. It will take less time to overcome this. If we want to ignore it and flaunt the rules, this is going to be around a lot longer. It really is directly related to how we're going to respond. We can stop this and get things done sooner if we all participate.
All right, great info there. Dr. Ross Goldberg, thanks for being with us once again. We appreciate all your time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks again.
All right, coming up, as PTSD Awareness Month winds down, the conversation surrounding trauma for families after war, it shouldn't stop. ASU Pat Tillman Veteran Center military advocate and veteran himself, Shawn Banzhaf, joins us next. We're back on Newsmaker Saturday. Our next guest tonight is a 21-year veteran. He's a military advocate for students at the Pat Tillman Veteran Center at ASU. He's also a published author. Shawn Banzhaf joins us now. His book called The 5 L's, A Practical Guide for Helping Loved Ones Heal After Trauma. A very important topic. Shawn, thanks for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the time and the opportunity to be able to do that today.
Before we get to the book, I want to talk about your story. 21 years in the military, you served in Iraq. You've gone through so much with your family being overseas. Tell me about your experience.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so my military service was a little bit different. I was part of the Army National Guard. So I was able to lead a quasi-civilian life during my 21 years. I was a police officer during that time. So, most of that 21 years, I spent a lot of time away from my family. If you think about what that looks like, what it means, and it was difficult times. I spent a month in Honduras after Hurricane Mitch in 1999, and I had to spend that away from my family. I was a month in support of operations down in Hurricane Katrina. We got deployed down there, spent a month there, and different storms and fires. And as a National Guards person, you're deployed in a lot of different circumstances, not just war. And so you can imagine kind of the upheaval that can cause in your family and in your life. And my 21 years, I felt were, in my estimation, I felt heroic in my deeds. However, I can also tell you that the luster and the romantic thought of war that, maybe I thought of when I talked to my grandpa, who was in Normandy on D-Day. He never told me much, but, I always had this thought in my head, like most young men and women do, about the wars of old, and there's this romantic space, and war ended up not being that. So I know most veterans would probably agree with when I said that war is closer to hell than heaven. So yeah. I don't know how much more you want to know about me. I have quite a story.
When you came back, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which you talk about in the book, did you feel that? Did that resonate with you? Did you know what was happening when you came back, when you had symptoms, or if you did?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Christine. You know, the thing about coming back, and I say this, I wrote it in another article that I published about, I called it 6 Days Combat to Carpet. And, you know, the decompression from my last combat mission in Iraq, where people were trying to kill me, bombs were exploding or being laid as a trap. And then 6 days later, I was standing in my living room carpet. There was no decompression. It was very difficult coming home. You know, I talk quite a bit about how I felt, you know, even, you know, I'm 15 months away from my wife, and of course we slept apart and we wanted to be in the same bed together, and I couldn't even do that. I didn't feel safe there. The space was too big. The bed was too big, and it was too far away from the front door. So I slept the first 3 months really after I got home on the couch. Part of PTSD is that hyper alert. I was hyper alert. I couldn't drive my car over a certain speed because I was too busy paying attention to the trash on the side of the road in case there was an IED. And I was back home, always on edge. Fireworks, still, you know, it's 14 years removed now from combat, and fireworks still get me. And I'm not. I talk about being pre-war Shawn and post-war Shawn. I have to figure out what it looks like trying to be this new version of myself, because I can never go back to before when I experienced those things.
The impetus for the book, what made you want to write something like this?
Yeah. So my own struggle with PTSD, I'm not diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. However, I have the symptoms of post-traumatic stress. And so, you know, knowing that, you know, we lost one soldier to combat. He was killed outside of Baghdad in February of 2007. Out of 155 of us deployed, we lost one soldier to an IED. Randy Matheny was his name, and you know, I'll always remember Randy. And the thing is, though, when we came home, we've lost another 3 to suicide. So the battle, if you will, of course, was on the battlefield in the Anbar province, but the battle continues back here at home. And I had this conversation with a young student veteran here at Arizona State University, and I could tell he had all of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. He ended up divulging the fact that he had been diagnosed with that, but I could see it in him because I had seen it in myself. And I realized that at that moment, as the senior military advocate at the time, that I wasn't sure how I could help him. And then how could everybody else across the enterprise at ASU help our student veterans if I'm supposed to be the person that helps them and I can't? So, you know, I came up with these 5 L's for practical usage. People who didn't serve in the military but love us and they want to help us. That's why I wrote the book.
Wow. So this is a guide not even just for veterans, but this can be a guide for anyone dealing with trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I dedicate this book to my wife, Jody. Jody did these 5 things that all start with the letter L. After I came home from Iraq, she just didn't realize, and I didn't really realize that they all had a word. And so, you know, I wrote the book for wives, for husbands, for caregivers. Obviously, it's for the veteran because I want them to be able to glean from the 5 L's, this space where they can find healing from post-traumatic stress. But I also thought about all the people that want to help but didn't know what to do. These very practical things that I lay out in the book can help you just be there for your loved one.
Amazing stuff, and I encourage people to find the book. Where can people find this book?
Well, a couple of places. You can find it on Amazon. That's where I published it with my good friend Jamin Hubner. He was my publisher and also my co-author, helped me a lot with the research, loves veterans, loves me, and said he wanted to help. So we published it on Amazon, but I'm very pleased to say that it's consigned at Changing Hand Bookstore in Tempe. You can pick it up there as well.
Great stuff. Shawn Banzhaf, thank you so much for your time. We truly appreciate it. Again, the book, The 5 L's, a practice guide for helping loved ones heal after trauma. All right, that's all for us tonight on Newsmaker Saturday. We'll see you back here next weekend. Have a great night.